I don't know about you, but I've seen a lot of gurus making videos about the 2021 housing market crash. Now, I gotta be honest with you, I'm a full-time real estate agent in the mix, in the trenches, with people every single day, helping them buy or sell their homes, navigating what's really happening in the real estate market, and helping them answer questions like, should I buy now or should I wait? If I don't buy now, will I lose a chance at historically low interest rates? If I do buy, what happens if the market crashes? Should I sell now or wait? But if I do sell my home, where will I go? What happens if the 2021 housing market crashes? It's easy to get confused with all the noise and distractions out there. In just the last few months, we've all been bombarded like some kind of shock and awe campaign how the real estate market is either red hot, so hot that Satan is jumping out of hell just to catch a breath. Now, that's gotta be pretty damn hot. Or we're about to be overtaken by a devastating tsunami of foreclosures worse than the 2008 Great Recession that some say is on par with the deadly tsunami of 2004. Here's just a handful of the headlines we've seen. LA home sales soar as California's housing defies COVID. US new home sales surge to the fastest pace since 2006 as housing market shines through the pandemic. Home sales are off the charts. U.S. home price appreciation hit 6-year high in September. Housing boom may lead to wave of foreclosures. The serious disconnect between a hot residential real estate market and the coming tsunami of foreclosures. Whew. Okay, can we just all stop for a moment? Can we just take a breath to reassess? Please? All right. Let's cut through the noise and distractions and get to what matters most, you. Let's set the fear-mongering clickbait straight. There are so many doomsdayers out there and not enough truth sayers. Right here, right now, I'm stepping into the arena to combat the doomsdaying with truth saying. Let's talk about the truth and the facts of what's really happening in the 2021 housing market. If you're new here, thank you for joining in. My name is Andrew Finney, and I'm a full-time real estate agent in Las Vegas, Nevada. My passion is to help you make sense of real estate. Over the years, I've put my experience as a top real estate agent to work for my many satisfied clients and for you in the hundreds of videos I've made about home buying, home selling, real estate investing, and home ownership. This is to give you insider knowledge of what to expect so you can succeed with your real estate goals. Let's get after it. In this video, we're going to talk about the 8 major factors shaping the 2021 housing market. Topic 1, the health of the U.S. housing market. Topic 2, housing supply versus home buyer demand. Topic 3, housing demand versus housing affordability. Topic 4, mortgage delinquencies, forbearance, and foreclosures. Topic 5, mortgage interest rates. Topic 6, how the COVID-19 vaccine might impact the housing market. Topic 7, the Biden-Harris administration. Topic 8, what's most likely to happen in the 2021 housing market. Now, you could just skip to the end of this video using the chapter markers to find out what I think will happen in the housing market this year. But if you do, you'll miss out on learning all of the important details that go into the predictions and lack the context to truly understand them. After all, if we don't know where we're going, how will we know when we get there? Sure, you'll know the predictions, but not how we got there. I promise you this, taking this journey with me, step by step, will enrich your knowledge of real estate market conditions and empower you to make smart decisions for your real estate goals. So if that's you and you're ready, grab your notes and let's get after it. One thing to keep in mind here as we move forward is the simple fact, everyone, all of us need a roof over our heads. We can either rent that roof or own it. The choice is yours. So let's begin with topic number 1, the current health of the U.S. housing market. So what is the current health of the housing market? To be honest, it's both strong and weak. The housing market is being propped up by economic policies that affect the mortgage interest rate and offsetting foreclosure activity. It's a real estate market with super low home inventory falling far short of home buyer demand. So lean in with me as we set the stage for the 2021 housing market predictions. The real deal, not the hype. Let's begin with what comprises the U.S. housing market. Now, many of us tend to think about the U.S. housing market as one single marketplace, when in reality, the U.S. real estate market is comprised of thousands of local real estate markets. You've probably heard of real estate skyrocketing in some real estate markets, especially in the suburbs during 2020, and completely nosediving in others like the big, expensive coastal cities. In fact, according to Statista, as recently as 2019, there are approximately 19,502 incorporated places, aka cities, towns, villages, etc., within the United States. So now let's go a bit deeper into what's happening with housing supply versus demand. Topic number 2, housing supply versus homebuyer demand. Unfortunately, the shortage of homes we've seen over the past few years is likely to persist well into 2021 as existing home sales and new home sales struggle to keep pace with the homebuyer demand. Now, you might be wondering, well, Andrew, what about the millions of people in mortgage forbearance? Won't that increase the supply of homes when they get foreclosed? That's a great point, and we'll dive deeper into that soon. For now, to better understand where we are with housing supply versus homebuyer demand, let's take a quick look at the number of existing home sales in 2019 and 2020. In 2019, approximately 5.34 million existing homes sold across the United States and 683,000 new construction homes, totaling just over 6 million homes sold nationwide in 2019 alone. So how many total homes do you think sold in 2020, especially considering COVID-19? Would you say more or less total homes sold than in 2019? As it turns out, existing home sales actually went up. In 2020, the number of existing home sales rose to 5.52 million, along with 841,000 new construction homes sold, totaling just under 6.4 million total homes sold in 2020. That's despite COVID-19. Even with the raging pandemic going on, Americans definitely want a home of their own, perhaps more so now than in previous years. So from the numbers we just looked at, we can see an uptick of homebuyer demand, but what does that mean for the housing supply? Currently, there's not enough home supply to meet homebuyer demand. That's why prices keep rising. Perhaps even worse than the lack of home supply is the lack of affordable housing for the average home buyers. Buyers, especially first-time home buyers, are being priced out of the real estate market. So what about all those foreclosures other experts are talking about? Well, we're getting there in a few moments. Hang in there, we're getting there. For now, let's address housing affordability. To be honest, I first started talking about housing affordability issues and average buyers getting priced out of the market in 2017. Yeah, unfortunately, it's been quite a recurring trend for some time now. So when we take a look at supply versus demand, it's pretty easy to understand how this works with a simple example. We all know that when demand is high and supply is low, it increases the cost for the supply. In this case, we're talking about homes. To put it another way, and to better help you wrap your mind around how supply versus demand works, did you hear about how much it costs to get a U-Haul when people are moving to cities with a large inflow of home buyers and moving out of other cities in droves? Oh, it's actually really insane. For instance, take a look at this post by Business Insider. They found renting a U-Haul to move out of California can be 4 times more expensive than moving into California. This is due to the high demand of people moving out. Now, consider just how many Californians, New Yorkers, etc., are flocking to the Southwest Sunbelt states and Midwest in hot pursuit of affordable housing. They're fleeing the high taxes for lower taxes, seeking a lower cost of living, and also to escape Mother Nature's tantrums. The supply of homes in those local real estate markets can't keep up with the home buying demand and is driving prices higher and even way higher at the same time, pricing out, in many cases, the average would-be home buyer that already lives in that area. Case in point, take a look at this post by CNBC. There was a surprise drop in September home sales as buyers were priced out. Now that we know more about the supply side of homes and how many homes are selling, let's go back for a moment to talk about the pent-up home buying demand, especially for affordable housing. I realize that it probably sounds cliche these days to say historically low mortgage interest rates. All the same, it's true, and it's one of the major driving factors of home buying demand. We'll talk more about mortgage rates and how to know how much home you can afford in a bit. For now, just know that the low interest rates add fuel to the fire of an already dried out supply of homes in the housing market. As more home buyers get their home loan pre-approval letters, it's like striking a match and dropping it in a can of gas. Well, that's going to cause an explosion of multiple bids by buyers on the relatively few homes available. Adding jet fuel to the fire, the further below the average price of a home you go, the more like Shark Week it becomes. It's quite seriously like a ferocious feeding frenzy of sharks on a large school of fish. In this case, with home buyers facing multiple bids, many above list price, on the very few affordable homes in a local area. So why do we play this game? Because all of us need a roof over our head, either rented or owned. That roof can take the form of a tiny home, a single family home, a townhome, a condo, an apartment, a motor coach, or even a tent. Yes, even a tent. The fact remains, we all gotta have a place to live, even if it's a tent. Homebuyer demand is exceptionally high and growing, especially as the average rental price reaches levels that someone could buy a house for about the same or slightly more than they currently pay for their monthly rent. In this chart by Apartment Guide, it shows the average rental prices from 2018 through 2020, with the average rental price for a 3-bedroom residence coming in with a staggering $2,050 a month rent payment. Hey, that's kind of like buying a house for $335,000 in many cases. If you want to track rental prices, Zumper takes us a step further with their monthly Nation Rent Report. Looking at these numbers, we can see why renters are feeling the pain and are tired of continually increasing rents every year. Many renters are ready for the stability that comes with a mortgage, and hey, let's face it, when a home appreciates over time, they want to be on the winning side of the equity gain too. I mean, don't we all? Just being honest. And because mortgage interest rates are so low, for some homebuyers that are already very tight on their debt to income ratios, the lower mortgage rates put homeownership within reach for them, in some cases for the first time in their life, and for others, possibly for the last time. When rates go up and property values climb, the same average first-time homebuyer tragically, very, very tragically, finds themselves getting priced out of the real estate market. This impacts home buyers with the lower incomes first, then even home buyers that earn what is considered median income and above. Hold that thought. We'll circle back on the median income in a moment. The numbers are, well, you're just gonna have to see it for yourself to believe it. With a housing supply that isn't keeping pace with a high home buyer demand, it's like trying to climb Mount Everest with beach sandals on. Have you ever tried that? If you did, let us know how it worked out for you in the comments. But yeah, like climbing Mount Everest with beach sandals, that's gonna work, right? So the Mount Everest of today's housing market is the housing affordability crisis. So now let's go deeper into the real crisis, the shortage of affordable housing. Topic number 3, housing demand versus housing affordability. According to Redfin, the current median sales price of a home in the United States is $335,519. The data from Fred Economic Research reports the current median sales price of a home in the United States is $324,900. That's roughly an $11,000 difference, but it's relatively close. And let's face it, $335,000 is a lot of money for most of us. So what does this mean exactly, and why is it important to know? A few moments ago, we covered a few major factors driving homebuyer demand, specifically the historically low mortgage interest rates, the jumping rental prices, and adding to that, COVID-19 is reshaping our thoughts about what home means to us. And by now, you're probably starting to get the picture of some of the strong driving forces propelling homebuyer demand. Now let's go deeper into what an affordable housing crisis means. When we take a step back and think about affordable housing, really thinking about it for a moment, I mean, how do we really know what that means? After all, what's affordable to some people is not affordable to others, and vice versa. It's almost like there are 3 tribes of thought here. Tribe 1 might say, and hey, you might feel this way too, it means I can afford to buy a home or I can't. It's really that cut and dry. Tribe 2 could say it means they have a certain amount of money every month set in their mind's eye about what's financially comfortable to them based on their monthly budget. That makes a lot of sense too. Now, Tribe 3, well, Tribe 3, God love them, right? Tribe 3, well, they say home prices are astronomically high and they'll just wait for the market to crash. These are the folks that just love that fearmonger clickbait we've seen a lot of lately. Personally, I always wonder about Tribe 3's way of thinking. I mean, think about it for a moment. If the housing market crashes so hard that it destroys property values, what does that mean for the tens of millions of homeowners now? Do you remember 2008? Where were you in your life at that time, and how did 2008 impact you when the crash happened? For a lot of us, including myself, it crippled or wiped out most of us financially. Plus, it was really hard to get credit, much less get a mortgage back then with the very, very stringent lending requirements in place between 2008 and 2012. So how does Tribe 3 know they'd be any better off than the rest of us if that did happen? Just saying. Let's hope for all of our sake we never see that happen again. By the way, I'd love to hear your thought on this, so please drop a line in the comments below. What tribe are you in? Perhaps we could all agree that it really comes down to how much money a person earns. So let's explore that. What is the median per capita income and per household income in the United States? Well, according to the 2019 US Census, the median per capita income is $34,103. By the way, per capita simply means per person, with the median household income being $62,843. A household for the purpose of the census is considered 2.3 people. What I'd love to know is who actually has that 0.3 of a person living in your home. How's that working out for you? I mean, inquiring minds would love to know, so if that's you, let us know. Now, it might sound silly, but for math purposes, that 0.3 will change the median income a little bit. It will actually be slightly higher than the reality of, let's say, 2 income producing people in the same household. I suppose it's just something we should keep in mind when looking at these kind of numbers. There will be a bit of variance between stats and reality. The next thing that comes to mind is what is considered an average first-time home buyer? Well, according to the National Association of Realtors 2018 profile of home buyers and sellers, an average first-time home buyer is 32 years old with a $75,000 a year household income. Okay, so if we think this through a bit, if the median income is $34,000 per person and $63,000 per household, and the average price of a home in 2020 was $335,000, yet the median household income for a first-time home buyer is $75,000, which is $12,000 more than the current median household income according to the 2019 census, then we can already begin to see the pinch between the median household income in the United States and the median income for an average first-time home buyer. But what about everyone else that wants to buy a home of their own and they don't earn the median income? What are they going to have to do to buy a home of their own? Are they going to have to get another job, go back to school so they can get a better paying job, or something else? Something's got to change here. From the numbers, we definitely can see why we have an affordable housing crisis in the United States. So here's something to consider. If we want to know just how high prices can realistically get in every city of the United States, there are 4 really quick ways to know. Answering these 4 questions will get to the heart of what's really happening. Number 1, what is the median income of a person? Remember that per person is per capita, and for a household in that city. Number 2, what is the median home price in that area? Number 3, how much home loan can the average person or family afford in that area? And number 4, what's happening in the local economy? Are businesses moving in or are they moving out? These are really good things to know when sizing up a local real estate market. The next part is where it gets really interesting. Anytime the average price of a home begins to outpace how much the average home buyer can afford in that area, then the home prices must go down to stabilize home appreciation rates in that area, or the price of a home will go down temporarily until the laws of supply and demand regain balance. So that begs the question, why are prices constantly increasing in areas that were once considered affordable? And those areas have already exceeded what the average buyer can afford in those areas. So this rabbit hole's about to take a bounce. You've probably heard about the many people fleeing the more expensive states and cities to get away from high taxes and congestion, flocking to the affordable states in the Sun Belt, West Belt, and Southern and Midwest states. It's pure and simple. Migration patterns of people are accounting for why real estate prices are rocketing so high in those once affordable areas, and why the average home buyer that already lives there is struggling to afford a home. That's leaving the average buyer in those areas to wonder about the options they have to buy a home. I mean, What would you be thinking if you were in their shoes? Well, many of those buyers are thinking in a very similar way to those people fleeing the expensive cities. When their city becomes too expensive for them, many of them will also start looking for more affordable areas to move that promise economic opportunity and a lower cost of living, including the average price of a home. What we're seeing is a large migration of people, which in no small part is increasing the total amount of home sales in the United States as people seek out affordable housing, causing a cycle of a housing shortage to feed upon itself. Okay, so now we can see some of the reasons why an average first-time home buyer is getting priced out of the very little affordable housing in a given marketplace and the challenges they face in buying a home in 2021. These facts beg the question, how much home can I afford, or at least realistically and comfortably afford? Hold that thought. We'll come back to it in a moment and you'll want to hear this one out. It could be life-changing for you. That brings about the topic on a lot of people's mind. Topic number 4, mortgage delinquencies, forbearance, and foreclosures. For now, what about all those people saying a tsunami of foreclosures is coming? Won't that drive down the prices of homes and make them more affordable? Well, yeah, probably if it were to happen. But the truth is this. The truth is the tsunami is likely to be more of a wave you see every day at the beach. It's there, but it's certainly not going to devastate anything right away. To better understand why, you gotta gain clarity on the facts and variables to watch and know how mortgage delinquencies, forbearances, and foreclosures work. So how does it work? There are several categories we can watch, but 5 of the most important categories include the current mortgage delinquency rate, how many homeowners are currently in forbearance, how many homeowners are currently in foreclosure, and how many homeowners have equity in their homes, and the unemployment rate itself. So let's take a look at the current data and what to watch for moving forward. As we do so, please keep in mind for the purpose of this video, we're taking a look at the numbers at the national level. Each local real estate market is likely to behave differently, with home price gains and losses varying in each local housing market based upon the composition of the local economy. You probably remember from earlier in this video about Statista's 2019 survey where they informed us there are 19,502 incorporated places, aka cities and towns, in the United States. But why is that detail important to remember? Because the national level trend numbers may or may not align with your local real estate market or local economy. The good news is you can take the same information being shared here and apply it at your local level to gain better insight into the health of the housing market where you live or where you're planning on moving to next. Okay, so by now we've all seen the fearmongers clickbait out there about how awful the housing market's doing and why they say it's going to crash, just like they've been saying for years now. Let's be honest about why they do it. The fearmongers are just like a predator that preys on the weak. They prey on your fear and anxiety just to get clicks on their videos so they can attempt to seduce you by playing to your hopes and dreams so that you'll buy their courses promising to teach you how to be the next real estate mogul. Yeah, okay, if it were only so easy. To me, that's disgusting. To be fair, if manipulating people's fear works for them, that's great for them, I guess. As for me, I refuse to lose my soul to get ahead. So let's put the actual numbers in perspective with the real facts. And please remember, fear is just an acronym for false evidence appearing real. So let's set the false evidence straight with real facts. Let's begin with the total amount of existing homes in the United States. According to the 2019 U.S. Census, there are approximately 140 million existing homes in the United States. For the purpose of the census, homes are considered to be 1 to 4 unit residential properties. So then the question becomes, how many of the 140 million homes in the United States are owner-occupied versus being used as rentals? Well, according to the same 2019 census, we find that 64% of existing homes are owner-occupied, which comes to roughly 90 million owner-occupied households in the United States. That means the remaining 36% of the total 140 million existing homes are being used for rental purposes in the United States. So that's approximately 50 million homes being used as rental properties. Hence the 140 million total existing homes in the United States as of the 2019 census. With this information, we're now ready to go deeper. To better understand how many homeowners and real estate investors are realistically at risk of being foreclosed upon, we need to first ask how many of the 140 million homes have mortgages to begin with. After all, if someone owns a property free and clear, they won't be at risk of foreclosure. So we need to find how many homeowners are in the potentially at-risk group first to know just how bad things could possibly get. So let's take the numbers we just talked about to the next level by asking a couple of quick questions to find out how many properties have a mortgage. The first question, how many owner-occupied homes have a mortgage? The second question, how many rental properties have a mortgage? By answering these questions, we will discover the total size of our potential foreclosure at-risk group, which is the total estimated amount of mortgage holders in the United States. So let's get to it. Question 1. How many owner-occupied homes have a mortgage? In 2019, a Forbes article cited a Zillow data analysis done in 2017 that found 37% of all owner-occupied homes are considered to be free and clear. That comes to roughly 33 million of the 90 million owner-occupied homes that don't have a mortgage. That means 57 million owner-occupied homes have a mortgage. All right, so the next question, how many rental properties have a mortgage? According to the National Association of Realtors study conducted in 2018, an estimated 59% of all rentals have a mortgage or a similar debt. This means roughly 30 million rentals carry a mortgage. So that means roughly 20 million rental properties are free and clear, those fortunate owners that don't owe a mortgage. Now, while doing the research for this video, I stumbled across an interesting finding of who actually owns all these rentals. And as it turns out, this is a pretty important detail to better learn how many potentially at-risk landlords there might be. That risk group being the landlords with a mortgage that are everyday people, just like you and me, versus those owned by a business that likely have deeper pockets. In the same 2018 study by the National Association of Realtors, they found an estimated 48% of rental homes are owned by individual mom-and-pop landlords. That's roughly 24 million homes of the total 50 million estimated properties being used as rentals. The remainder of the rental homes, an estimated 26 million, are owned by some estimated 1 million business entities. Okay, so now that we know that roughly 57 million owner-occupied homes have a mortgage and approximately 30 million rental homes have a mortgage, we have discovered about 87 million people comprise the potentially at-risk of foreclosure group. Keeping this number in mind, we're now ready to find out just how many of the 87 million estimated mortgage holders in the United States are genuinely at risk of foreclosure. To solve for this, we need to look at the mortgage delinquency rate that could translate to an increased volume of the notice of default rate. This is important to note because the delinquency rates can forecast the notice of default rates, and the notice of default rates can indicate the amount of potential foreclosures coming up in the future. For reference, a notice of default is typically filed when a homeowner is 90 days late paying their mortgage. It is the first step in the foreclosure process that can take 7 to 12 plus months from start to finish. So what is the current mortgage delinquency rate? Well, according to the leading mortgage data giant Black Knight, they found that the total U.S. loan delinquency rate for home loans 30 or more days past due is 6.33% of the total mortgages in the United States as of November 2020. The amount of homeowners with a delinquent mortgage is going down overall, though the number of homeowners considered seriously delinquent, those homeowners that are 90 plus days past due on their mortgage, is currently around 2.2 million. This is in stark contrast to the 176,000 homes currently in the foreclosure pre-sale inventory, also known as shadow inventory. A few moments ago, we tallied the estimated total mortgage holders in the United States right around 87 million. Using the delinquency rate from Black Knight's report, let's do the math to find out how many people are truly at risk of a potential foreclosure. So if we take the 87 million total mortgages and we multiply it by the delinquency rate of 6.63%, that equals 5,768,100 homeowners at risk. So does that mean almost 5.8 million people are about to get foreclosed on? That'd be like, oh my God, that'd be horrific. Fortunately, the answer is no, not quite. But why is that exactly? After all, if being 90 days late on a mortgage payment kicks off the notice of default, which is the first step in the foreclosure process, then that means the roughly 2.2 million people from that Black Knight report that are 90 plus days late on their mortgage should be going through the foreclosure process right now, right? Well, yeah, that would likely be true if COVID-19 didn't happen and if legislation to address the economic fallout of COVID-19 wasn't passed, then that might have been our very unfortunate reality right about now. But it's not. Why? Remember all the headlines about foreclosure moratoriums through a process called mortgage forbearance? That was part of the legislation passed known as the CARES Act in response to COVID-19? Yep, it's a key legislative measure that's temporarily bandaging the housing and mortgage markets, preventing a hemorrhage of foreclosures. For reference, a mortgage forbearance is the mortgage relief option for homeowners facing financial hardships resulting from COVID-19. The forbearance option permits homeowners to discontinue making their mortgage payments while on the program temporarily. It is essential to note that the missed mortgage payments are required to be repaid. Yeah, and a huge part is the mortgage forbearance provision of the CARES Act that is helping millions of Americans delinquent on their mortgage keep their homes while they were furloughed and as they work to resume gainful employment. Additionally, the CARES Act initiated a foreclosure moratorium, which effectively applies to most homeowners that aren't on a mortgage forbearance plan, as well as those that are in a forbearance plan. As a result, the current actual foreclosure rate is very low nationwide, but for how long? That's the real question. So, is this like when the water recedes in the ocean right before a tsunami hits, causing all kinds of destruction? Nope, probably not, and hopefully not this time. But we still got to answer the reason why it's highly unlikely to happen in 2021. The question that comes to mind is what happens when mortgage forbearance times out? Now that's a really good question. Mortgage forbearance was extended in December 2020 by the FHA, which is the Federal Housing Administration, through February 28, 2021 for qualifying mortgages. Depending on a person's situation, mortgage forbearance can potentially last for up to a year. Each case varies. Quick side note, if you're experiencing financial hardship and need help with your mortgage, please contact your mortgage service provider right away to review your mortgage forbearance and/or your loan modification options with you. Currently, the deadline for mortgage forbearance is set to expire on February 28, 2021. Okay, so now let's bring this full circle. If a homeowner applied for a mortgage forbearance and it can potentially last for up to 1 year, then we can use this as a timeline for when we might see an uptick in foreclosure activity. The first recipients of the mortgage forbearance was around March and April 2020. So as of March and April 2021, if their mortgage forbearance ends, what happens next? It's highly likely current homeowners in forbearance are currently working with or will be working with their mortgage service provider to get a loan modification. In some cases, homeowners are getting completely caught up on their mortgage payments, avoiding loan modifications if possible. This will effectively reduce the number of homeowners currently behind in their mortgage by providing them with a loan modification if they can qualify, which will likely result in a lower mortgage delinquency numbers being reported as homeowners receive loan modifications throughout 2021 and beyond. In turn, this is one of the reasons why the relatively calm waters of the housing market are unlikely to produce a tsunami of foreclosures. At the same time, if a homeowner does not have enough equity in their home to sell, and they exhaust the mortgage forbearance option, and if they are unable to get a home loan modification, then that group of homeowners will be the ones that may, unfortunately, get foreclosed upon. By the way, the foreclosure process usually takes 7 to 12 months and sometimes even longer start to finish, just depending on the type of foreclosure. But heads up, foreclosures generally fall into two broad categories: judicial or non-judicial foreclosure. Just depends on the state they live in. Another thing to keep in mind is, depending on the state law where the foreclosed property is located, a bank might, after foreclosing on the property, be able to hold it off the market for a few years. This is what a lot of people like to call shadow inventory. We're not going into that in this video, but if you want me to, let me know in the comments. Okay, so back on track. Does that mean we'll see an uptick in foreclosure activity in 2021? Possibly, though it's highly doubtful it will be at a rate high enough to have a significant impact on overall home prices in 2021. With high homebuyer demand, historically low interest rates, the likelihood of a first-time homebuyer credit coming from the Biden and Harris administration this year, homebuyers will swiftly surf that small wave of additional home inventory right into the sandy beach, waiting for the next potential wave to catch. In other words, any new inventory, distressed or otherwise, will be quickly purchased by home buyers taking advantage of the low mortgage interest rates and the new first-time home buyer credit that is likely to come soon. So what is the current foreclosure rate? According to Statista, the 2019 foreclosure rate is 0.36%. AREN Data, which is another leading provider of real estate and mortgage analytics, posted in December 2020 that foreclosure filings were down in November 2020, with 1 in every 13,581 households having a foreclosure filing. But what about all the homeowners that have equity in their home? Couldn't they just sell their home to avoid a foreclosure? That's a great point. In fact, homeowners that purchased their homes before 2019 have a healthy amount of equity in their homes. Even new homeowners since 2019 have gained equity. Take a look at the National Homeowner Equity Map by CoreLogic. As of the third quarter of 2020, the average homeowner gained $17,000 in equity in just the past year. So what does this mean exactly? It means that the vast majority of homeowners at the current time have strong equity positions in their homes. As long as they didn't do a cash out refinance, they likely have more than enough equity to sell their house to avoid foreclosure. Okay, now it's time to ask a hard question that hopefully most of us will never have to answer. If you were one of the 5.5 million Americans currently behind in your mortgage payments and facing foreclosure, but you have enough equity in your home to sell without being foreclosed on, what would you do? Would you let the bank foreclose on you and very likely wipe out most, if not all, of the equity you built up? Or would you opt to sell your home, as hard as that would be, to cash out what you can so you can rise again like a phoenix? I don't know about you, but I think the answer for most of us is pretty straightforward. We'd sell our house if we'd really had to, and if it would help us avoid the setbacks that come with being foreclosed upon. We take whatever amount of money that might be due to us from our home equity to rebuild our lives, stronger and better, wiser from the experience, to rise from the ashes just like a phoenix reaching new heights in the not so distant future. Well, at least that's what I think most of us would do if we found ourselves in this situation. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Drop a line in the comments with your thoughts. Thank you. And oh, by the way, if you're getting value out of this video, could you go ahead and give it a thumbs up, please? Thank you. To get more videos like this one, please subscribe and tap the bell icon to get notification. Okay, let's get back to it. One thing we really need to keep an eye on is the unemployment rate. This is the key factor that floats the ship known as the U.S. economy. The economic tide rises and falls by this metric. It can be a powerful signal of potential mortgage delinquencies on the horizon, and it can also be a beacon of light in the dark shining brightly on the path of where the U.S. economy is going. According to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, the unemployment rate chart shows that the current unemployment rate is roughly 6.7% as of November 2020. Keep in mind, for this to be an accurate predictor, we would also need to know the income level brackets of the unemployed and how many unemployed people currently own a home to begin with. The income level bracket is indicative of how many people earn enough money to buy a house or might currently own one. Knowing how many people currently own a home that are unemployed would shed insight into the total amount of people that might be more susceptible to becoming delinquent in their mortgage payments. All right, now that you know what I think is likely to happen based upon the facts we just went over, the real question is, what do you think is going to happen? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you. Okay, so that brings us around the topic number 5, mortgage interest rates. To better illustrate just why you keep hearing about the super low mortgage interest rates, take a look at the Freddie Mac Primary Mortgage Market Survey chart, also known as the PMMS chart. For reference, Freddie Mac makes it very easy to adjust the slider for the past 50 years of historical mortgage interest rates. Just in case you want to nerd out on interest rates, see where they've been, see where they're going, this is the place to do it. Okay, according to this chart, the current prevailing mortgage interest rate is right around 2.66% for a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. Compare that to rates just about 5 years ago when the average rate was hovering around 3.97% for a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. Now let's put what you hear in context. Looking at the full chart dating back to 1971, the highest 30-year fixed rate mortgage interest rate was in October 1981 at 18.63%. Yeah, you just heard me right. 18.63% for a 30-year fixed rate mortgage in October 1981. Oh my God. Could you just imagine? A good thing we're not in those times right now, right? So the lowest on the chart is in 2020. We'll have to see what rates do in 2021, though the word on the street is mortgage rates will have a progressively slow uptick moving forward. It goes without saying that we all need a roof over our head. We can either rent that roof or own it. It's up to you. When I bought my first home, it was in 2012. I was so excited, and honestly, I had I had no clue about real estate or home loans or title or anything to do with real estate back then. It's kind of maybe a little embarrassing to admit now, but it's true. In 2012, I hadn't a clue. So when the loan officer told me I was getting a great rate at 4.5% for a VA home loan, I was ecstatic. And I thought, oh my God, that's amazing, right? My, oh my, how times have changed over the last 9 years. I've been a full-time real estate agent since late 2013, and over the years, I've had the privilege of helping just around 190 people buy and sell their homes as of the recording of this video. So why am I telling you this? So we can get into an example of how much home you can afford and to show you just how big of an impact a mortgage interest rate has on the total amount you can potentially qualify for in a mortgage. So let's break down the current mortgage interest rates versus the mortgage interest rate when I purchased my first home and my second home. My first home was in 2012, and back then I got a 4.5% interest rate with a credit score right around 653 for a 30-year fixed rate VA home loan. When I bought my second home in 2016, I got a 3.25% rate for the same type of home loan with a credit score right around the 780s. As of this video, home buyers with a credit score of around 640s are getting rates as low as 2.75%. Honestly, I think that's really amazing and I'm really excited for them. It's just goes to show what has changed since I've bought my first home in 2012. So quick disclaimer stuff here. Please keep in mind that the actual mortgage interest rate you get is based on your overall financial profile, including your income, assets, credit, debts, down payment amount, and the type of home loan that you use. Individual results will vary, so please review your unique situation with a mortgage loan officer to learn more about your home loan options. And oh, by the way, I'm not a mortgage loan officer. Okay, so let's get to the good stuff with finding out how much home loan you can afford. Let's head over to the home affordability calculator, courtesy of Mint by Intuit. Full disclosure here, I do not currently have any affiliate partnerships by Mint by Intuit at this time, nor is this video being sponsored by Mint by Intuit at this time. It's simply one of the best home affordability calculators I've come across, and I thought you might like it too.
Okay, so here we are on the Mint by Intuit page. It is super cool. It's super easy to use. So I'm going to break it down real quick with the basic navigation. On the left-hand side, you have the how much home can I afford section. The center shows you the home price of an amount, and what they're saying is affordable to you. If you hover on the dot, it shows you the debt to income ratio, and we'll circle back to a little brief point on that in a moment. And then it'll give you the amount of the down payment, the buyer closing costs. For reference, buyer closing costs are generally about 3% of a sales price, and then the estimated monthly payment. So if you remember a moment ago, I was sharing with you my personal story of the first home that I purchased in Las Vegas. And back then it was 2012, I got a 4.5% rate. Now for the purpose of this example, we're gonna use a lot of the numbers that you see underneath how much home can I afford column, just as it's written. And back then in 2012, I got a 4.5% rate. So let's say that I had the average median annual household income, and I had about $11,000 as a down payment. And just to keep it easy, let's say monthly debt was none, with an average credit score around the 630 to 689 range. Back then I had a 4.5% interest rate on a 30-year fixed. And it's going to quickly break down how much home they would say is affordable to me based upon a 36% debt to income ratio. Now, depending on what kind of home loan you get, you can actually go up as high as 45 or even 50% of a debt to income ratio, depending on the loan type and your individual circumstances and situation, right? Now, generally speaking, when you start going over about 42, 43, it makes me a little bit nervous as a real estate agent, because one of the things I want you to know is the debt to income ratio that the lenders are using are actually based off of your gross income. So anyways, with that said, technically you could probably go up to 45 to 50%. So let us go ahead and take it up to 45% here at that 4.5% interest rate. And that puts us right in line with right around where the median house price is right now, according to Redfin and from Fed economic data. Okay. And that's assuming an $11,000 down payment, by the way. So now let's go ahead and change that to like the second house that I purchased, which was a 3.25% rate. Oh my God, at the same debt to income ratio at 45%, you can now go up to 371,616. Now, the really interesting part of this is that a lot of home buyers in today's market, at least from the recording of this video, are getting anywhere around a 2.75%. So let's use today's rate at 2.75% and see what happens. 387. So now we could back off the debt to income ratio and let's see how far we have to go down to hit that 335. Okay, we're pretty close right there at 39% debt to income ratio. So, I mean, obviously that would be pretty ideal to lower the debt to income ratio ideally, but keeping in mind the debt to income ratio is a factor of your current income and it's off of your gross income, subtracting all of your monthly debts. Now, this is a really super easy tool to use, just like you saw. Please feel free to head over to Mint by Intuit and check it out yourself to get a gauge on how much home you can afford and come up with an idea of what it would cost to buy your new home. It's a super, super helpful tool. Now, it is not a substitute for contacting a mortgage loan officer and doing a home loan application. So when you're ready to take that next step, after you've used this site, go ahead and process your application and see how everything's going to break down to you with the different loan programs that are available, different loan types that are available, and what terms are available to fit your unique circumstance. So I hope this has been really helpful to you. So now let's go ahead and hop back into the video and we'll see you on that side. Thanks.
Okay, so that was a lot of fun. So let's go into topic number 6, the impact of the COVID-19 vaccine on real estate. COVID-19 caused us to rethink our lives, priorities, and what's most important to us about how we use our time and the quality of our lifestyles. In 2020, during the wake of COVID-19, we witnessed a massive exodus of people fleeing big cities in favor of nearby suburbs and rural areas. This exodus of people helped stabilize and even lowered, in some cases, the price of homes and rentals in the large cities. At the same time, home prices and rental rates soared in the suburbs and rural areas where people flocked to as a safe haven to get away from the COVID-19 ground zero areas. It goes without saying that it's great news that the FDA approved the Moderna and Pfizer COVID-19 vaccines, with likely some additional approvals coming soon. By the way, thank you to all the first responders, researchers, scientists, and medical professionals that are helping us navigate our way out of this pandemic. We're always stronger and better together. The reality is that it will likely take months, if not the better part of 2021, for the COVID-19 vaccine to roll out to all of us. In fact, according to prevention.com, the general public won't have access to the COVID-19 vaccine until the late spring to summer of 2021. The CDC has a COVID-19 vaccination tracker to keep up with how many of us are getting vaccinated. If you want to check it out, the link is in the description. So how is this going to impact real estate? The migration patterns of the people within the U.S. will continue as people seek out affordable housing in areas they feel safe to live. We're also highly likely to see continued growth in virtual and video home tours throughout 2021, in addition to a more digitized home buyer and home selling experience, with e-signing software becoming more prevalent, not only on the real estate side of things, because honestly, we real estate agents have been using that stuff for a long time, but you'll also see more of it on the lending side and the title sides of it as well. We could also see an increase in the amount of people buying a house sight unseen. If that's something you're thinking about too, then you'll want to check out this playlist next. For now, please continue to wear your mask, be responsible, and continue social distancing practices. We can and we will get through this together. Okay, so that brings us around to topic number 7, the Biden-Harris administration. President Biden and Vice President Harris have significant plans to help the average American get ahead and to rebuild the middle class of the United States. But how exactly? Let's take a look. For starters, they have a $640 billion, yes with a capital B, billion, 10-year plan to increase affordable housing, decrease poverty in the United States. They also pledged to end illegal discriminatory redlining practices by poor actors in the housing market. And it's about darn time. Discrimination has no place in real estate or in life in general, just my opinion. Okay, how big of an impact might their plan have? Well, according to Jennifer Jackson with Berkeley Economic Review, the Universal Housing Voucher Program could potentially cut the poverty rate in half. To lead this valiant charge in the face of adversity, the Biden-Harris administration appointed Congresswoman Marcia Fudge as a new Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. Congresswoman Fudge is a longtime champion of affordable housing, urban revitalization, infrastructure investment, and other reforms that promote prosperous health within American communities. Notably, Congresswoman Fudge is also the first woman to lead the Housing and Urban Development Department in more than 40 years, and only the second Black woman to lead the department in the U.S. history. Congratulations, Congresswoman Fudge. We're happy to have you there. Now, it's too early to tell exactly what will happen with the Biden-Harris economic policy, but we do know a few things about what shape it's taking. President Biden has a sniper-level focus on saving the middle class and helping average Americans get ahead. So what are President Biden and Vice President Harris planning? In part, they are planning on raising an estimated $3.3 trillion in tax revenue over 10 years. That means tax increases are imminent for corporations and households earning over $400,000 annually. This raises the question, how many Americans realistically earn over $400,000 a year? Well, according to the CNBC report, only 1.8% of Americans earn $400,000 or more annually. It's important to note that anytime we hear about things like first-time homebuyer tax credits or student loan forgiveness, it often sounds super sexy, just like a runway model appears on television. But is it really that sexy? Well, have you ever stopped to wonder where does the money come from to pay for these programs? If you guess taxes, you're right. Increased taxes in one form or another are needed to offset the spending necessary to fund those programs, and other potential programs may have their funding pooled altogether. Regardless of the economic policies of anyone in office, it is always prudent for we, the people, to take ownership of our own actions and behavior. Sure, we can all use some help sometimes, and it's great when it happens. That said, we also need to have personal accountability in the way we live our lives, the way that we treat each other, and the way that we manage our finances. After the inauguration of President Biden and Vice President Harris, we'll learn much more about the economic policies of the Biden-Harris administration moving forward. Now, on the campaign trail, Biden and Harris shared their plans for implementing a potential short-term $15,000 first-time homebuyer credit to qualified homebuyers. If and when this comes through, and to be honest, I have every confidence that it will, because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, well, they have a track record of being true to their word and upholding their promises. The first-time homebuyer tax credit would be probably very beneficial to many first-time homebuyers to get into home ownership. However, I tend to agree with Michelle Lerner at the Washington Post here. The possible Biden-Harris first-time homebuyer tax credit could both help and hurt homebuyers. So you might be wondering, what is the dark side of that? It sounds so good, right? So consider the potential downside to a first-time homebuyer tax credit for a moment. In the already ultra-low inventory housing market, this would likely cause an eruption of home sales on a scale like Mount Vesuvius buried Pompeii in ancient Rome. So what do you think happens when you combine a first-time homebuyer tax credit with really low mortgage interest rates? You guessed it. You have a spur of fierce competition amongst homebuyers like some kind of pro rodeo bull riding championship trying to hold on 8 seconds to buy a house. Now, if you're a homebuyer in 2021, saddle up and be ready. It just might feel like riding a bull would be more comfortable than buying your new home. Now, I don't say this to scare you, but to prepare you. So why am I telling you this? I realize it sounds a lot different than the fearmonger clickbait you've been seeing and hearing that preys on your deepest fears and causes you anxiety. Well, it's simple. At the end of the day, I believe in keeping it real and sharing the truth with you. Ideally, what I'm sharing with you in this video and my other videos will help you make a well-informed decision that's right for you for the reasons important to you when the time is right for you. So let's back it up with some fast facts. Consider some of the bold predictions recently by Zillow, and love them or hate them. Zillow has some really robust research capabilities. Well, Zillow forecast home sales will be the biggest since the 1980s. All right, Let that one sink in for a minute. The biggest amount of homes sold, the largest amount of homes sold since the 1980s. Okay, what does that look like in the 2021 real estate market? Well, according to Zillow, it potentially means a 21.9% increase in the total homes sold, resulting in approximately 6.9 million home sales in 2021 versus the 5.52 million homes sold in 2020. That's an increase of roughly 1.4 million total homes sold in the United States in 2021. But Zillow didn't stop their 2021 prediction there. They also believe home price appreciation will reach its fastest pace since the Great Recession, as home buyers duke it out like some kind of fight club to buy their new homes. Zillow isn't alone in their expert analysis either. Keep in mind, these folks have a lot of very smart people on their payroll whose only job it is to track the real analytics of home sales and trends. Then their economists digest all that information and turn that data to produce these educated predictions. Okay, so we all know housing prices are through the roof now. How much more expensive could homes possibly get in 2021? Well, Realtor.com's chief economist Danielle Hale forecasts total homes sold to increase by 7% in 2021 and home prices to increase another 5.7% from the 2020 levels. Now, compare that to Redfin's chief economist, Daryl Fairweather. He predicts 2021 total home sales will be more than any year since 2006. He believes the total homes sold will increase over 10% from what we saw in 2020. Okay, so now let's go back to Zillow for a moment. Zillow's chief economist, Jeff Tucker, says price appreciation will approach 9% or even 10% by July 2021 before cooling down a little bit in the last half of the year, settling right around 7% year over year in home appreciation by the end of 2021. Now, whether these experts are right about this or wrong, time reveals all. All right, so that brings us full circle to topic number 8. Congratulations, my friend. You have stuck it in there this far. You are amazing, and I greatly appreciate it. So here we go with the 5 predictions of what's most likely to happen in 2021. Please remember, the best time to buy or sell is when the time is right for you in your life for the reasons important to you. Markets will always go up, down, and all around. Don't try to chase the market, or the market will chase you right out of it. If you're buying a home in 2021, be prepared to move fast. Best practice is to always have your loan pre-approval letter ready to go before viewing any homes. Now, that also applies for people that are buying homes with cash. Get those proof of funds ready to go because you're going to need it. The competition for homes is highly likely to be fierce, so get your ducks in a row and ready to go. Prediction number 1, mortgage interest rates are likely to remain at very low levels. Prediction number 2, the tsunami of foreclosures is very unlikely to happen in 2021. I'll keep watching this and I'll keep you updated if anything changes. Prediction number 3, expect total existing homes sold and new construction homes sold to increase over 2020 levels, possibly around the 7 million total homes sold mark by the end of 2021. Prediction number 4, homes will appreciate likely between 4 to 6% on the national average. Prediction number 5, watch for the first-time homebuyer credit to come out in 2021. When it happens, I'll make an update video for you. My friend, thank you so much for hanging in there with me. Now don't you feel so much better knowing what's happening? And now that we've dispelled all that fear, that's false evidence appearing real with facts, you're awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me in this video. I'd love to hear your thoughts about where you think the real estate market is headed. Please share your thoughts with us in the comments. Thanks. As we land the plane here, now you might be wondering about buying a house. And so you can be better prepared, you might be wondering, what do I do next? Click here to watch the 15 things not to do before buying a house, or click here to watch another video. Either way, thank you so much for watching, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in another video.